Hi, Ghost Keyboard here. Today, I am thrilled to review the EVO-X1 Mini PC from GMKtec. As you may know, this Mini PC is holding the latest Zen 5 AMD AI 9 HX370 CPU. In this review, we're going to go through benchmark comparison with the competitors' models, unboxing, detailed specifications of the hardware, and review the panel interface. Also, we're going to run game test with the brand new AMD RDNA 3.5 iGPU with the 890M iGPU. And also, we're going to boost our gaming performances with an eGPU, as this Mini PC is the first Mini PC on the market to offer an Oculink port with this AMD HX370 CPU. So bear with me if you want to know everything about this powerhouse Mini PC. So we start this review with the unboxing, and we will go through the hardware specifications at the same time. The EVO-X1 comes with 32 gigabytes of LPDDR5 RAM at 7,500 million transfer per second and 1 terabyte of PCIe 4 NVMe SSD. There are no barebone model available, as this model has soldered RAM. We also have the classic HDMI cable and an AC adapter of 19 volts and 120 watts of power supply, which is way enough for this CPU, which is pulling 65 watts in performance mode. GMKtec also provided an unusual accessory with a vertical stand, which is kind of a cool option. This vertical stand is pushing the small form factor even further with more space saving. Let's talk a bit about the design of this Mini PC. First of all, this model is surprisingly small. It almost have the size of an Intel 4 CPU cores N-series model. But we have here a beast of CPU with 12 cores running at 65 watt. Just to give you an idea of how small this Mini PC is, I am sitting next to him, the K8 Plus. There is quite a size difference. Secondly, this Mini PC is beautiful. It is the best GMKtec model design so far, in my opinion. The design is not only good-looking, but it is an integrated component of the cooling system of this unit. As you will see in test, the EVO-X1 is showing the best temperatures I have seen during CPU benchmark or game test. The EVO-X1 is the first GMKtec model with a vapor chamber, and these things are not cheap to manufacture. About the cooling system, the EVO-X1 doubled down on the K8 Plus 360-degree air gap located on the top panel. I had reviewed the K8 Plus and thought that this 360 air gap was a very creative way to dissipate the heat. And with the EVO-X1, GMKtec doubled down on this feature by implementing this air gap on the top and at the bottom. The third and last puzzle piece of the cooling efficiency of this unit is its side air vent. Look at those openings. They are huge. We can see through the whole unit, and with the RGB lightening the component, this is giving this unit an even more awesome look. Let's talk about the price of this Mini PC. This unit is not cheap, but it is still cheaper than the competitor's product with the same AMD HX370 CPU. The EVO-X1 price tag is at $919 on the GMKtec official website. However, you can find it at a lower price on Amazon with coupons. Check the Amazon links available in the video description if you are interested. Before moving over to the specs, could you please give this video a like or subscribe to the channel if you are appreciating this content? Okay, now, the specs can be summarized in 2 words: more and power. This AMD Strix Point CPU is the latest and most powerful mobile CPU in the market. Before the Strix Halo chip is released to the public, this CPU is the first AMD Strix Point chip released. The AMD HX370 has 12 cores and 24 threads. That's a lots of power for a Mini PC. So for the CPU, we have more cores, more threads, more L3 cache, and for the new RDNA 3.5 890M iGPU, we have more shading units, more execution units, more T-flops, and 200 MHz faster clock speed compared to the previous RDNA 3 Gen 780M iGPU. Now for the RAM spec. Well, here again, we have impressive specs with LPDDR5X RAM at 7,500 million transfer per second. Soldered RAM have the inconvenient to not be upgradable, but soldered RAM also have advantages. It runs cooler and is faster with lower latency. So for the viewers who felt that their brains have been scrambled with all these numbers and acronyms, to make it clear this Mini PC model is the cream of the cream, this is purely high-end hardware everywhere. We are finishing this hardware spec review with the new Ryzen AI XDNA 2 NPU, which is the most powerful AI NPU on the market at the moment. At the moment, very few softwares are using AI NPUs. The inclusion of the NPU is a good thing, as many programs and apps will take advantages of this NPU in a near future. At the moment, usage is mostly limited to noise reduction, voice isolation, background effects in a few apps. AMD has confirmed implementation of AI upscaling and other AI features with the upcoming FSR 4 release. However, if you are a developer interested in AI programming, you can right now install Ryzen AI drivers along ONNIX framework and Anaconda and start coding. Although here again AMD seems not on point yet, I do have tried to run AMD quick test script to see how the NPU load, but I end up using the CPU and not the NPU for this short AI test script. I have modified the script to run for 2 minutes instead of a few seconds and end up with the same results. Now let's quickly review the back and front interface of this mini PC. Up front we have 2 USB 3.2 Gen 2 ports, 1 USB 4 Type-C port at 40 GB data transfer speed per second, which support power input and audio and video output for external monitor usage. Also, I do have tested a Thunderbolt eGPU with this USB 4 port, so it's confirmed Thunderbolt port. Then we also have the most wanted Oculink port that is offering the fastest data transfer speed for an eGPU connection, and 1 power button and an audio jack port. In the back, we have 2 USB 2 port, 2 Ethernet LAN port at 2.5 gigabit, 1 2.1 HDMI port, and 1 display port, both supporting 8K at 60 Hz. We have 1 Kensington lock and a DC barrel jack. To enter the BIOS, follow the user manual instruction and hold the escape key while restarting your device. You can select 3 modes: the quiet mode, the balance mode, and the performance mode. I am going to set the EVO-X1 on performance mode. Next, you can upgrade the EGPU video memory in the GFX option by sharing your 32 GB of RAM. Default setting is at 4 GB of RAM. I am going to change the setting to 8 GB of RAM. I don't recommend going above 8 GB of RAM, as you may end up with poor performances. Next, still in advanced BIOS option, I'm going to show you how to change the TDP. You have to select SMU common option. Then select System Configuration. I am changing the TDP to 58 watt just for a demonstration. I also strongly advise to keep the TDP at default auto mode, which will go up to 65 watt when your device will need it. Now I am going to show you how to overclock the RAM. First select AMD CBS, then scroll down to UMC Common Options, select LPDDR Options, then select Timing Configuration. Scroll down and select Accept and press Enter key. We're going to set Active Memory Timing Setting to Enable mode. Select Maximum Memory Data Clock Speed. I am selecting 8000 MT, although you can go up to 8533. Just be aware that you will notice higher hardware temps from all your sensor. Now select LPDDR SPD timing and select TCL control to manual and change TCL value to 16. Now you press the escape key until you reach the main BIOS menu and then select Save and Exit. Now, we're going to make some gaming test comparing overclocked RAM at 8000 MT versus default 7500 MT. Note that Windows System Power option is set to best performances exclusively for these RAM game test. We start with God of War Ragnarok. You can see in MSI Afterburner that RAM channel is set in the overclock run at 1000 megatransfers per channel. Remember that we have here DDR5 quad channel soldered RAM. I wasn't expecting that overclock RAM would have a real impact with LPDDR5 RAM, but as we are seeing, we have close to 10% performance boost with overclock RAM. Now with Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, note that I have used the latest February AMD drivers update for this test, unlike the upcoming test. That's why you will see way lower FPS in the upcoming Indiana Jones gaming comparison test with the 780 MI GPU. Here is Time Spy score with overclocked RAM. We'll later see some more 3D Mark benchmark during comparison test. Let's now move on to Cinebench R23. We scored 2,021 points in single-core test with a reached max temperature of 72 degrees Celsius. In the multi-core test, the EVO-X1 scored 20,376 points with a max temperature of 79 degrees Celsius. Those temperatures are significantly low for a Cinebench test. I did beat those single and multi-core tests during a second run and score a big 22,163 points. Now let's compare these numbers with the competitors' models with the same HX370 CPU. In this first comparison panel, we can see that the Minis Forum Elite Mini AI 370 scored 18,882 points and the Beelink Seer 9 scored 20,118 points. The Minis Forum had recorded a max temperature of 92 degrees Celsius and the Seer 9 82 degrees Celsius. In this second Cinebench R23 panel, the Beelink Seer 9 scored 20,104 points in multi-core test and 2,027 points in single-core test for a max temperature of 90 degrees Celsius at 80 watt TDP, so it makes sense. The Minis Forum Elite Mini AI 370 scored 19,952 points in multi-core test, which is a better score than previous panel and 2,000 point in single-core test, but the max temperature is a super high 95 degrees Celsius. That's too much heat in my opinion. Now we are moving on to 3D Mark benchmark, and we start with Time Spy, and got an overall scores of 4,146 points, with no overclocking at 65 watt TDP in performance mode. And as you can see, we stayed at a low 68 degrees Celsius temperature. Competitors scored 3,954 points and 3,938. But with an 80 watt TDP and overclocked 200 Hz CPU and EGPU and 8,000 MT overclocked RAM competitor scored 4,231 points. At Firestrike, we scored 9,132 points. And again, the EVO-X1 showed its cooling efficiency with a 66 degrees Celsius average. Competitors scored 9,025 points and 9,119 points. Last, we are finishing with Night Raid with 34,717 points. Now let's compare the SSD benchmark between the EVO-X1 and the Elite Mini. Sorry, I ain't got no data for the SER9. Now we are moving to noise test. During benchmark and CPU test, you can definitely hear the Mini PC fan ramping. Fan is kicking but not stay at a constant high RPM. That's why you are seeing dBA jumping from 30 dBA to above 40 dBA and immediately drop back to 30-35 dBA. This footage was taken during a Cinebench test, which is the loudest noise level you will hear with this Mini PC. Now close to idle mode, the EVO-X1 is much quieter. We are around 24 dBA while playing a YouTube video. Now during a game session, we are louder at around 25 to 33 dBA. All noise tests were made at 65 watt TDP and performance mode. Now we are moving over idle temps and power consumption. As you see, all sensors are showing cool temps. Those are simply the best low temperatures I have seen so far in the list of Mini PC I have reviewed. Room temps is at 28 degrees Celsius and we are at 36 degrees Celsius in performance mode, which is showing how efficient is the overall cooling system of this Mini PC. We are around 9 watt, and even lower, you can read that the minimum recorded CPU package power is 3.8 watt. SSD and RAM are also showing low temps at 29 degrees Celsius. I usually read 40 degrees Celsius on my other Mini PC model. Soldered RAM does help to get lower temperature too. Now moving over a quick and last comparison with the competitor with CyberPunk benchmark, we start with CyberPunk with FSR set in auto mode. The Elite Mini scored 62 FPS average, and the GMKtec EVO-X1 scored 68 FPS average. Now at native low setting, the Seer 9 scored 53 FPS average, no upscaling. and the EVO-X1 scored 57 FPS average with the same settings at native resolution at 1080p. Now we are moving to the gaming test. In this first test, I have chosen to do a side-by-side comparison test with each of the last 4 AMD iGPU Gen to give you a better idea of the performance gain with each AMD chip. Enjoy, like the video, leave a comment or subscribe to the channel. So we are here at low setting with FSR enabled, and we are at 128 FPS average. CPU temps is a bit above what I like to see. Remember that I told you to leave the TDP in the BIOS at auto default setting. I think this game run was made with 54 watt TDP setting, but performance mode will push the TDP to 64 watt with the EVO-X1. As you can see, the temps went below 70 degrees Celsius in medium and high setting once I have switched back the TDP to auto mode, and we are still pulling 65 watt. Now I have set high setting at native resolution without FSR or frame generation, and we are around 99 FPS average with the 890M iGPU, and that's awesome for an iGPU. Next, StarField still with different AMD iGPU generation. We have here with the 660M and the 680M2 RDNA 2 iGPU. The 780M is RDNA 3, and our GMKtec EVO-X1 has the latest and most powerful iGPU. With the RDNA 3.5 architecture, so far the 890M is showing a bit above 20% performance boost compared to the previous 780M. But as you will see in some few games, we quiet don't even have a 10% performance gap between those two iGPU. Now I have set native low setting with FSR and frame generation turned off, and we are still seeing a bit over 20% performance boost for the 890M. The EVO-X1 is showing super low temperatures at 55 degrees Celsius. That is probably the lowest temp I have seen in performance mode on a high TDP. Now we're moving on to CyberPunk, where we're going to see a smaller gap in performance between almost all iGPUs. Setting are set to low with FSR unable. Now God of War. This is the last test where I am comparing all the different latest AMD iGPU. Following next, I will only keep the 780M as a comparative reference. Also, I'm going to test more recent AAA games at different graphics settings. Now I'm going to set the graphics setting to native low setting. I want to see if we can reach the iconic 60 FPS. Well, we are not there yet. With low upscaling, we could preserve good graphic quality and lock those 60 FPS average. Now Ghost of Tsushima at low setting frame generation is turned off, and we are on FSR3 set at balance setting. Now I am bringing in a side-by-side screen the 780M, and again we are above 20% FPS performance boost with the EVO-X1. Both are showing cool temperatures. God of War Ragnarok at low setting with AMD frame generation enabled and FSR3 set at performance setting. Same drill, I am bringing in this side-by-side screen, the 780M EGPU, for a comparison reference. Now the EVO-X1 alone with low, medium, and high setting with FSR3 set at performance setting, FPS average difference is minimal, so is the graphic visual quality. It's kind of a joke. Setting at medium now with frame generation enabled and FSR3 set at native. Wukong Black Myth at low, medium, and high setting with FSR Super Resolution set at 42. Now low setting at native resolution with frame generation turned on. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. For this title, I had to switch to 720p resolution in the game setting, with all graphic settings set to low. Unfortunately, this title doesn't support FSR or AMD frame generation. However, the game is playable even at such a low FPS, as the gameplay is not butchered by lag freeze or screen tearing. Last game before testing Minecraft with the Oculink eGPU. Setting are set to high with FSR3 set at balance setting. Now low, medium, and in a side-by-side run. Finally, let's move to Minecraft with the Oculink eGPU. Please, if you want to see a more detailed eGPU review with this powerhouse mini PC, give this video a push with some big likes or comments. Okay, I have chosen to run the hardest shader with the SEUS PTGI shader and Patrick's resource pack. This setup is certainly very capable to run this Minecraft combo mod. For this eGPU test, I am using an RTX 4080 Super. And this mod is going hard on my cards. We are at 100% usage and it just won't go down. Let's do the TNT test to see if there is any big frame drop. Nope, no frame drop. Maybe I should have added more TNT. I can't remember having seen 70 FPS with these mod before with my RTX 4080 Super. This is the best 40 FPS I have seen on Minecraft. Gameplay is really smooth. The LPDDR5 soldered RAM is doing its job. Generally, you do feel the difference with an inferior RAM specs. Latency is low. This is the end of this review. Please share, like, or comment, and thanks you for watching.